In this video, we're going to talk about pivot tables, charts, dashboards, and slicers. So here we have the source data. We have the name of the sales agent, the state that they're living in, the region that they're part of, the sales for the month, which is part of a certain quarter, and also the category, if they're selling life insurance, auto insurance, or health insurance. And we have basically a lot of data. Now, let's say if we want to find the total sales generated by John this year. To do so, we would have to add up his sales for the month of January, and here he is in row 12, for the month of September, and then if we search for him again for June, and here he is. So here's his sales for December, and it's going to take a lot of time to search through this entire data to find out the total sales that John made for the year. Now what we can do is we can take this data set and simplify it using a pivot table. So once you select a cell anywhere in this data set, press Ctrl A. It's going to select the important elements of this worksheet. And then go to Insert, Table. You can also press Ctrl T. It's going to turn this into a table. And make sure to select this option, My Table Has Headers. Now once you created a table, you can now go to Insert and then Pivot Table. So select the table or range. That's going to be Table 1, as we can see here. And we're going to open the pivot table in a new worksheet. So press OK. Now, if we focus our attention to the right side of the screen, we can choose fields to add to the report. And so since we want to find the total revenue generated by John, let's select the sales agent option and also the revenue option. And so here we can see the total revenue generated by John. It's $710,000. We can also see the total revenue generated by all of the other sales agents. And so the pivot table allows us to focus on the important elements of a large source data. So instead of looking through that data, it allows us to basically summarize certain elements of that data, as we can see here. In addition to that, we can turn this into a chart so we can visually represent this information. So let's press Ctrl A and then go to Insert. Insert and then Pivot Chart. I was looking for that, but for some reason I didn't see it. Now instead of a column chart, let's make a bar chart. So we have different options to choose from, but let's pick the first one, a clustered bar chart, and then press OK. And then you have the option to basically edit this chart. So let's go to grid lines. I'm going to add the primary major horizontal grid line. And you could adjust the title. So let's call this Revenue by Sales Agents. Now let's get rid of the legend key. We really don't need that. And I'm going to right click the graph, and you could basically change the color of the bar graph. So I'm going to make it red. And so now we can visually see the relative revenue values of each sales agent. And we can see that Lisa has the highest sales for the year, and Karen has the lowest. And so pivot charts can help you to basically visualize your data. Now, if you want to, you can create a slicer. So if you go to Insert and then Slicer, let's select sales agent. And what's going to happen here is we can choose which agent we want to display on this bar graph. So if we only want to show Arnold, we can do so. Or we could show Craig. Now, if you hold on to the control button, you can select multiple agents. And so that's one way in which you can use slicers with pivot charts and pivot tables. So you can select certain sales agents to be displayed on this graph. So let's press this clear filter button, and then you can see everyone again. And then if you want to, you can delete the slicer if you don't need it. Now I'm going to copy this chart, and then I'm going to put it in a new sheet. Let me move this sheet to the front. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to View and then take off the grid lines. Now at this point we can paste the chart that we have here. And so this is going to be the process by which we're going to create a dashboard. So we're going to display all of the charts that we're going to create on this sheet. Now if you want to, you can change the background picture of the dashboard. So if you press Control A, it's going to highlight all the cells, and then right click, and then you can select a fill color. So you can adjust the background for your dashboard. So I'm going to create a black background. Now let's go back to our original worksheet. Now let's go to Insert Pivot Table, and so we're going to create another pivot table. Everything will keep it the same just like before, and so let's go ahead and press OK. So it creates this new worksheet, sheet number 4, and this time we're going to analyze the revenue by the quarter. So let's say if we want to find the total revenue that was generated in the first quarter. So we can select quarter and revenue. So in the first quarter, about 1.59 million of sales was generated in the first quarter. In the third quarter, it was about 1.84 million in sales. And so you could summarize the revenue generated by all of the sales agents based on the quarter. So now let's press Control A and let's create a pivot chart. So go to Insert Pivot Chart, and this time what we're going to do is we're going to make a column chart instead of a bar chart. And let's go with the first one, a clustered column chart. Now let's do some formatting. Let's add the primary major vertical grid lines. Let's take away the legend, and let's adjust the title. So let's call this quarterly revenue. So we can see that the sales revenue was the highest in the fourth quarter. I'm going to right click and adjust the fill for this. So let's give it a green color. And so we could see the revenue generated in each quarter. Now let's go to copy. You can also press Control C to copy it. Let's go to sheet 3 and then Control V to paste this particular graph. So I'm going to add more charts, so I'm going to reduce the size of these charts. So I'm going to put this one here. Now let's go back to sheet 1. So now that we've created a bar chart and a column chart, let's create a line chart. So this time we're going to analyze the revenue by the month. So let's say if we want to find the total revenue generated in the month of January by all of the sales agents, or in the month of May. So we're going to insert another pivot table. So let's press Control A, select the entire table, go to Insert, Pivot Table, and then let's press OK just like before. So now we're in sheet 5, and let's select month and revenue. So the total revenue in the month of January is $514,000. In September, it's $598,000. And so this is a nice way in which we could summarize the information that was in sheet 1. So now let's press Control A and then Insert Pivot Chart. So this time let's create a line chart. I'm going to go with the first option. So let's press OK. And let's get rid of the legend. And let's adjust the color. Let's give it a red color. And let's adjust the title as well. So let's say sales revenue by month. And so that's it for this section. And now let's copy it and paste it on our dashboard. Now, if you want to, you can create a slicer in the dashboard. So if you select this particular graph and go to Insert, Slicer, and let's select the monthly option, press OK. So if you want to see just a line chart with the month January, it's not going to have much, but if you press Control, let's say February, March, and April, you can see a chart is created with those months. And then you can add some more if you want to. And so you can create a slicer within the dashboard, so you can see certain months instead of the other ones. So let's delete it. Now let's create another pivot table. And so this time we're going to select the region and the revenue. So now we have the total revenue by region. So the North region, or the North quadrant if you want to call it that, generated 1.3 million in revenue. Now we do have an issue here. I see that East is listed twice, and that's a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group those two. And let's change the name of this group to, I guess we'll just have to type in East. And so now we have the total sales for the East quadrant, which is about 3 million. And now what I'm going to do is select these cells and create a pivot chart. And this time, let's create a pie chart to represent this data. Now we have different chart styles that we can choose from. So if you want to, you can choose this particular chart style, but I'm going to go with the simple version. And you could use the legends if you want to, or you could just take it out. Data labels, you have some options. Data callout, so you can know which section is east, which one is west. And you should always give your charts a title. So let's call this sales revenue by region. And this doesn't need to be big, so we can adjust the size. And now let's copy it and paste it onto our dashboard. So we can press Control V and just put it here. Now, our next step is to create a map chart. So let's go to Insert Pivot Table once more. And this time we're going to create a pivot table with the state and the revenue for each state. So we can see that in the state of California and New York, the revenue is the largest. So let's see if we can visually represent that information with a map chart. So let's press Control A, go to Insert Pivot Chart, and well, we can't create a filled map with this information. So what we're going to do is let's copy this information and paste it elsewhere on this worksheet. And now let's select this information, go to Insert, and then let's go to Maps. So now we have a map. So this is the continental United States, and we can see that certain states are highlighted. So let's choose a different type of chart style. So you can pick one that best suits the way you want to represent the information. So I'm going to go with this, and let's give it a name. Let's say sales revenue by state. And now let's change the color. So you have some different options in which you can choose from. So I'm going to go with that. And if you don't see a color that you want, you can go to Page Layout and select more colors here. So that's something that you can use if you want to. Now, let's see. Let's put the legend somewhere else. Let's put it at the bottom. And now let's go to Data Labels, more Data Label Options, and let's see. We can select Value, but I'm going to go with Category Name so we can see the name of the states that we have here. And now let's get rid of this. And so right now it doesn't look too bad. Now, there's some other things we can do. We can adjust the outline, so let's give it a black outline so it looks better. And that's all I'm going to do for this particular map chart. So let's copy it and then paste it onto sheet 3. So let's press Control V. Let's do that again. And so we're going to have to decrease the size to fit everything in here. So let's make these things smaller. So now we have everything inside one page. Now, let's see if we can make one more chart. So let's create another pivot table. And this time, we're going to select the category and the revenue. So now we can see the total revenue generated from the sales of auto insurance, health insurance, home insurance, and things like that. So let's create a chart. So let's go to Pivot Chart, and let's go to Pie. So this time, let's create a donut chart. And let's see if we can change the color. So let's go to Page Layout, and let's give it a different color. So let's go with that, and let's change the name. Let's call it Sales Revenue by Category. Now let's go to data labels and let's select data callout so we could see the type of insurance and the percentage in the donut chart. And I'll leave it like that. If you want to, you can take out the legend key as well and just leave it like that. Or you can keep it and just take out the data callout. So there's a lot that you can do here. So let's copy it and put it in our dashboard. So I'm going to have to adjust the size of the map chart. And then Control V. So now we have our donut chart. And so you can adjust the size to make it look even. And so that's one way in which you can create an Excel dashboard. It's simply a way to just visualize the information all in one place. And so we could see the revenue generated by the sales agents, the revenue by quarter, by region, by month in a line chart, by state, and also by category. And so there's many different ways in which you can represent a large data set within Excel. And so that's basically it. So now you know how to create a dashboard in Excel using pivot tables and pivot charts. Thanks for watching.